Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've listened with great interest today, and here's what I hear you saying. The four folks to my left, I hear you saying that digital assets are different. Digital assets hold great promise. Digital assets need special rules. I agree with that. The obvious question is, what should those rules be, and to what extent should we allow you to draft them? I've also heard some of you say that digital assets represent the next generation of the internet. Well, we let the current generation of the internet draft their own rules, and frankly, it looks like what we got as a result looks like somebody knocked over a urine sample. Congress can't even agree on basic legislation dealing with privacy on the internet. How the hell are we going to tackle this? But I hear what you're saying. I hear Mr. Painter, as usual. If you follow him on social media, you know, all politicians are crooks. Very helpful. I want to direct most of my questions to Professor Massad. Is that how you say your name?
Massad.
Mr. Massad. I'm really worried we're going to get this wrong. We don't know, we in Congress and our staffs don't know as much as the professionals in digital assets know. And I don't see how we can possibly catch up. Tell me more about your idea of having the SEC. Well, first, I don't want to run out of time here, but why is the digital assets industry so scared of being regulated by the SEC?
Well, I think we need to step back, Senator. And
Briefly, please.
They don't want everything treated as a security because they don't want that entire framework to apply. But that's also because the SEC did fail to try to customize its rules to adapt for this technology, and it should do that. And you've got leadership at the agencies now who are working on those things.
You're suggesting that we turn to two of our agencies, one of which is the SEC, and say, you have expertise. Before we take a crack at a bill, you come up with a bill with rules, with regulations. Tell us how to do this. Because I hear you saying in some cases digital assets are commodities. In some cases they're securities.
Congress needs to fill the gap, which is if it's not a security, who's going to create a regulatory framework for it? So you do need to fill that. But these questions about exactly which is when is it a security, when is it not a security, how do we customize the rules, what should we do about DeFi, a lot of that should really be left to the agencies. You could establish some principles, but I wouldn't write detailed rules.
Have you looked, Professor, at Congressman Hill's legislation?
I have in detail.
What do you think?
I think it's got a lot of problems. I think it's 236 pages of regulatory arbitrage opportunities for creative lawyers, and I used to be one that did that kind of stuff.
Made a lot of money, did you?
I did, but...
Mr. Painter, do you think Senator Gillibrand is a crook?
No, and I do not think all politicians are crooks. And
why did you call her a crook?
I did not call her a crook. Now, Senator, you need to focus
here's what
on
I'm
this
looking
bill.
right now.
You're doing this again. You did it at the last
published a
hearing.
tweet that
You
said
need to
Senator
read the
Gillibrand's
bill.
role in stablecoin regulation, $217,000 in crypto donations. You tweeted that.
Yes, I do.
And then you said, the crypto industry is buying Congress and the White House. This won't end well. Why do you think the crypto industry is buying Senator Gillibrand?
I said, look at the campaign contributions from this industry.
You think they bought her?
No, I said, look at the campaign
You
contributions.
said they bought her. Do you think they bought her?
Senator, you need to focus on this bill instead of trying to distort my Twitter.
you
Last
called
time,
one of my
you were
colleagues
quoting
a crook.
what a Marxist in Chicago said
and
about
what
me.
evidence do you
Makes
have
no
that she's a
sense.
crook?
I said there is massive amount of campaign contributions coming into this Congress from the crypto
Do you
industry.
want to apologize
You need-
to Senator Gillibrand?
I do not want you to have to apologize for passing legislation
want to
that
apologize
destroys
to Senator
our
Gillibrand
economy.
for calling
You
her a
are
crook?
distorting what I said, just like you did in the last hearing. You're wasting everybody's time, Senator.
You're a whack job.
Senator,
You are a
wasting.
major
Well, I think we are.
next
I
level
think we.
whack job.
I think we
Is
are.
this middle school, Senator?
Senators and witness Thank you both.
I
for
think
your
you should
part-
apologize, Senator.
I think, Senator, you're wasting our time. This is not middle school.
Thank you for your participation. I will say that Senator Smith is next. The floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So, not so long ago,
It was the moment the room fractured. The gavel trembled slightly, voices rose, and beneath the fluorescent lights of Capitol Hill, the illusion of decorum cracked. What began as a hearing on digital assets, a debate over innovation, oversight, and power, descended into a collision of ego, frustration, and raw political emotion. Senator John Kennedy's drawling sarcasm cut through the air. "It looks like somebody knocked over a urine sample." A joke, perhaps, but one laced with contempt for the chaos of modern governance. His words echoed the American frustration, a Congress struggling to keep pace with a world remade by technology and by money. And then came Richard Painter, former ethics chief, law professor, and fierce critic of corruption, squaring off with the senator line by line, accusation by accusation. What began as policy talk on crypto regulation turned personal. "You think she's a crook?" Kennedy pressed. "You called her a crook." Painter fired back. "You're distorting what I said. You did it last time." Then the breaking point. Kennedy leaned forward, voice sharp, dismissive, and final. "You're a whack job." The hearing room fell still. This is what power looks like, stripped of its polish. A nation's lawmakers, entrusted with the fate of the digital economy, reduced to playground taunts before cameras and citizens. A moment that should have been about the rules governing the next era of American innovation instead revealed the cracks in the foundation, not of cryptocurrency, but of Congress itself. Behind the insults lies a deeper question. Who controls the future? In a world where money flows faster than law and technology evolves faster than understanding, who decides what is fair? The crypto industry has poured millions into lobbying efforts, shaping narratives and bending ears on both sides of the aisle. Painter's warnings that the digital gold rush is buying influence in Washington were not the ravings of a radical. They were the echoes of history repeating itself. From the railroads to big oil to big tech, America's story is a cycle of innovation colliding with greed and government struggling to draw the line between progress and power. Each revolution brings new promises of freedom, and each one tempts those in power to sell that freedom for profit. What unfolded in that Senate hearing was not just an argument over digital coins or regulatory frameworks. It was a moral confrontation between those who fear corruption and those who fear control, between a Congress unsure of its own competence and an industry eager to exploit that uncertainty, between truth and theater. Kennedy's jest about the Internet looking like someone knocked over a urine sample was more than humor. It was confession. Congress allowed Silicon Valley to write its own rules. Privacy died, monopolies thrived, data became currency, and citizens became products. And now the same choice stands again, whether to let a new empire rise unregulated or to face the messy, difficult task of governing it before it governs us. When Kennedy mocked Painter for his bluntness, when he dismissed his accusations of corruption as paranoia, he was doing what so many in power have done, turning the critic into the clown. But history often redeems the critic. It is the whistleblower, the dissenter, the one branded a whack job, who ends up being right. Because the truth is uncomfortable. The truth is that campaign donations from crypto firms are flooding Capitol Hill. The truth is that lawmakers, Democrats and Republicans alike, are taking that money while pretending to debate its influence. The truth is that moral clarity is a liability in Washington, and the truth is that Americans can see it. In that hearing room, the mask slipped. The cameras caught not just an exchange of insults, but the exhaustion of a government that has lost its moral compass. The institutions of oversight, the SEC, the CFTC, Congress itself, are no longer feared by the powerful. They are negotiated with like business partners. Painter's voice, strained but unyielding, called out what few dared to name aloud. That corruption in the digital age is not the envelope under the table. It is the tweet, the donation, the revolving door between regulator and lobbyist. It is the slow erosion of ethics disguised as progress. And Kennedy's anger, raw, almost theatrical, spoke to something else. A government that feels cornered by its own irrelevance. The world of blockchain and decentralized finance is rewriting the language of money, and those who write America's laws can barely keep up with the acronyms. When Kennedy said, "We in Congress and our staffs don't know as much as the professionals," it was not humility. It was fear. Fear that power has shifted. Fear that control has slipped away. The hearing ended with a gavel, but no resolution. Just silence and the uneasy awareness that democracy itself felt smaller than the market forces it was meant to regulate. What happens when the people's representatives no longer represent the people, but the industries that fund them? What happens when a public servant calling out corruption is mocked as unstable? And what happens when a system built on checks and balances forgets how to check, how to balance, how to govern? That hearing was not chaos. It was clarity. It showed us exactly where we stand. A nation of great technological power governed by a political class that fights each other harder than it fights corruption. The insult that ended the exchange, "You're a whack job," was more than an outburst. It was a mirror, a reflection of a Congress losing its patience, its purpose, and perhaps its soul. But it does not have to stay that way. Truth still has a voice. Integrity still matters. And every hearing, every argument, every exposed hypocrisy is a reminder that democracy is only as strong as those willing to defend it. So as the cameras fade and the clip ricochets across social media, remember this: government without ethics is chaos. Leadership without humility is theater. And freedom without vigilance is illusion. This is the moment to see through the noise, to understand what's at stake. Because beyond the laughter and the shouting match lies the quiet question that should haunt every American tonight. If this is how our leaders handle the truth, who will handle the future? This has been Liberal Freedom. Subscribe, stay informed, and stand with us. As we continue to expose the truth, one hearing at a time.